They were banished by the galaxy. Then humanity took them in HFY. They carried the last survivors of several species that the galaxy had chosen to forget. They had been banished. The Galactic Council had called them unstable, dangerous, and unfit for shared space. No trials were held. No true hearings were given. One vote followed another, and the verdict was exile. Their colonies were taken, their names erased from records, and their distress calls ignored. Now they moved through the dark, low on power and hope. Inside the lead vessel, Elder Kira stood near a cracked viewing panel. Her skin shimmered faintly, showing signs of exhaustion. Around her, others worked in silence. There was no anger left, only weariness. "We have fuel for a few more days," said Ral, a young navigator with tired eyes. "After that, the lights go out." Kira closed her eyes. She had heard the same report again and again. Every route they tried ended the same way: borders closed, signals blocked, warnings sent instead of aid. "The galaxy has spoken," someone whispered behind her. "We were never meant to survive." Kira did not answer. She refused to believe that survival depended on permission. Far away, in a different stretch of space, a human exploration ship moved along the edge of a mapped sector. It was not large or heavily armed. Its mission was simple: observe, record, and learn. Humans were still new to the wider galaxy, and many older species viewed them with caution or quiet dislike. On the bridge, Alex Carter leaned forward in his chair, eyes fixed on the sensor screen. He was calm by nature, with short brown hair and a habit of listening more than speaking. "Lena," he said, "check that signal again." Lena Brooks tapped at her console, her brow tightening. "I already did. It's weak, but it's real, multiple sources, not automated." Alex straightened. "A distress call?" "Yes," Lena said slowly, "but it's strange. The signature doesn't match any registered species." Across the room, Noah King looked up from his station. "Could be a trap," Alex nodded. "Could be, or it could be someone dying out there." Silence filled the bridge. Everyone knew the rules. Human ships were advised not to interfere in galactic political matters. Responding to unknown distress calls was strongly discouraged, especially those outside recognized zones. Alex stared at the blinking light on the screen. He thought of Earth, of storms, earthquakes, wars, and near extinctions. Humanity had survived not because others helped them, but because they refused to give up on each other. "Plot a course," Alex said. Noah hesitated. "Command won't like this." Alex did not look away from the screen. "We're not here to be liked." The ship turned, engines humming softly as it moved toward the fading signal. Hours passed. The stars grew dimmer, the space emptier. When the convoy finally appeared on the sensors, Lena let out a quiet breath. "They're barely holding together," she said. "Life signs are unstable." Alex stood. "Open a channel." At first there was nothing, then static filled the speakers. Broken symbols flashed across the screen. The language was unfamiliar, the patterns uneven. "They don't have a standard translator," Lena said. Alex leaned closer. "Send visual and basic intent signals: peace, aid, no weapons." The human symbols traveled across the void. On the alien ship, Ral stared at the console in disbelief. "Elder," he said, voice shaking, "someone is answering." Kira moved quickly to his side. The signal was weak but clear enough. Images appeared, strange and unfamiliar: upright figures, soft faces, exposed skin. "No visible weapons. A new species?" Ral asked. Kira studied the images. She had lived long enough to know fear when she saw it, but she saw none in these beings, only caution and something else she did not expect: concern. "Open a return channel," Kira said. "If this is the end, we will meet it with honesty." The connection stabilized. On Alex's screen, a shimmering figure appeared, tall, slender, with eyes that reflected the stars. "My name is Alex Carter," he said slowly, using basic trade speech. "We received your call." "Do you need help?" Kira listened as the translator struggled, then found its rhythm. When the words reached her, she felt something crack inside her chest. "Yes," she replied. "We do." There was no immediate reply. Alex looked at her, really looked, and saw the truth in her eyes. He saw hunger, fear, and dignity fighting to exist in the same space. "What happened to you?" he asked. Kira hesitated. The galaxy had punished them for telling the truth before, but these humans had come when no one else did. "We were banished," she said, "by the galaxy, for refusing to submit to laws that would have destroyed our people." Alex felt a slow burn in his chest. "And now? Now we are dying," Kira said simply. The bridge was silent. Lena turned away, jaw tight. Noah clenched his hands. Alex took a breath. You are not in restricted space, he said. You are not hostile, and you asked for help. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Humanity answers distress calls. Kira's eyes widened. You know what this means. The Council will not forgive this. Alex nodded. They don't have to, he turned to his crew. Prepare medical teams, share power, slow approach. Noah looked at him. Alex, this could cause trouble we're not ready for. Alex met his gaze. Trouble is not a reason to let people die. As the human ship moved closer, the alien convoy trembled. Lights flickered back to life as power was shared. Air systems stabilized. Wounded beings were guided through careful docking procedures. For the first time in many cycles, the outcasts felt warmth instead of cold. Kira watched human medics move with calm speed. They did not flinch at strange forms or unfamiliar needs. They asked questions. They listened. Why? She asked Alex quietly as they stood near the viewing panel. Alex considered the question. Because once, he said, we were told we didn't belong either. Kira looked at the stars, then back at the human captain. The galaxy will notice this. Alex allowed himself a small smile. Let them. Beyond the ships, the darkness watched in silence. The galaxy had cast these beings aside, certain they would fade away. It had not expected humanity to answer the call, and that single choice had just begun to change everything. The human ship and the alien convoy moved together slowly through the empty stretches of space. The aliens had expected threats, traps, or rejection. What they found instead was quiet curiosity, careful hands, and calm voices. They had never experienced this before. The galaxy had always responded with fear or punishment. Humans, however, acted differently. Inside the human ship, medical teams worked quickly. Lena Brooks and Noah King led the teams, carefully tending to injuries and stabilizing the alien systems. They moved with precision, speaking in simple words that could be understood by any species. Their gestures were slow and clear, showing safety and patience. Even though the language barrier was a challenge, the humans found ways to communicate through gestures, sounds, and basic symbols. The aliens watched with wide eyes. None of the humans recoiled at their strange shapes or odd forms. They treated each alien as a living being with value. The aliens had never felt this before. They were used to being feared, avoided, or attacked. This was different. It was almost too simple to be true. Elder Kira moved along the corridor, observing the work quietly. She noted the careful way the humans examined each injured alien, how they adjusted systems without harming delicate tissues, and how they offered food and energy without demand. There was no prejudice. There was no judgment, only help. Ral, the young navigator, whispered to Kira, "They are not afraid." "Why?" Kira shook her head. "Humans, I do not know, but perhaps it is part of why they survive." Meanwhile, Captain Alex Carter and his officers worked to stabilize the alien ships. They provided energy cores, repaired critical systems, and shared resources. They even offered maps of nearby space and routes to avoid dangers. Alex knew that the galaxy would not forgive this easily, but he also knew that survival was more important than fear of consequences. In one small chamber, Kira finally spoke with Alex directly. She studied his face, trying to read his intentions. "Why do you help us?" she asked. Her voice was calm but full of suspicion. Alex leaned back in his chair. "Because someone had to," he said simply. "Because you called and no one else did. Because humanity does not turn its back on those in need." Kira considered this. She had lived many cycles in the shadows of galactic judgment. Help had always come at a cost and always with strings attached. Humans were different. They asked for nothing in return. They only acted. "Your species is strange," Kira said softly. "You do not fear the Council." Alex smiled faintly. "We do not fear what tries to kill the truth. We only fear losing it ourselves." Kira felt a strange warmth at his words. For the first time in her life, she wondered if survival could mean more than just hiding and waiting. Perhaps it could also mean trust. Over the next few hours, trust began to grow. Humans offered basic comforts, warm fluids for injured aliens, energy supplies for weak engines. Even small gestures like shared meals built bridges between the species. Alien children, rarely seen outside controlled zones, ventured onto human decks. They laughed at simple games. Their eyes sparkled with curiosity and amazement at everything around them. Captain Alex watched quietly. "They need more than repair," he said to Lena. "They need to see that life is not just about surviving the galaxy's judgment." Lena nodded. "And you are willing to give them that?" Alex shrugged. It is not about willingness, it is about what is right. Meanwhile, back on the alien lead ship, Ral noticed that the humans had started talking to them about space routes, energy collection, and basic survival techniques. It was not a lecture. It was guidance. Humans shared knowledge without condescension. They explained how to fix engines, monitor life support, and avoid the most dangerous regions. It was knowledge born from hard experience, not fear. The aliens began to respond. They asked questions. They tried simple tasks under human guidance. Slowly, a fragile partnership formed. Each side learned from the other. Each side began to trust that the other would not betray them. At night, if night could be said to exist in space, the humans and aliens would sit together and watch the stars. The aliens asked questions about Earth, about human history, about the strange ways humans survived hardships. Alex, Lena, and Noah shared stories. They spoke of floods, storms, wars, and hunger. They spoke of families lost and found. They spoke of mistakes and of survival. The aliens listened, fascinated. They had never heard of a species so willing to keep moving forward despite so much pain. Kira realized something she had not before. Humans did not just survive. They thrived in impossible conditions. They laughed when nothing was certain. They chose empathy over fear. She had thought the galaxy's judgment was final. She had believed no species could be so reckless as to act with kindness when every law of the galaxy punished it. But these humans were proof that another way existed. Not everyone agreed. Some aliens whispered among themselves. "Are they weak?" they asked. "Are they naive? Why would they risk angering the council for us?" Kira shook her head. "They are strong," she said. "Stronger than any weapon, stronger than any law. They survive because they choose to survive together." The hours passed, and the human ship continued to escort the convoy through quiet sectors. Occasionally, sensors would pick up signals from patrolling galactic enforcers. The humans always responded calmly. They adjusted courses, hid the alien ships when possible, and communicated using signals meant to confuse scanners. Each time, the aliens marveled at human ingenuity. Ral approached Kira. "Do you think they will protect us if the council comes?" he asked, his voice full of worry. Kira looked out at the stars, at the humans who moved among them like shadows of hope. "I do not know," she admitted, "but I believe they will try." Alex called a meeting in the ship's common room. He invited Kira and a few of her leaders to join. "I want to be honest," he said. "The galaxy does not like us helping you. There will be questions, threats, maybe even attacks, but we cannot turn back now. We cannot leave you to die." Kira felt a lump in her throat. The words were simple, but the meaning was powerful. Humans were willing to face the galaxy's anger for them. No species had ever done that. They had always been alone, abandoned at the first sign of trouble. Now someone was willing to stand with them. Over the next few days, the humans continued their work. They repaired engines. They shared food and energy. They even helped aliens adjust to gravity fields, air systems, and other small but critical differences. Each act was a lesson, each gesture a promise that they were not alone. Ral finally spoke. "They are different," he said quietly. "They do not fear the universe. They do not fear us. They only care." Kira nodded. "And that is why we survive, because they see our worth when no one else does." In a small corner of space, the alien convoy and the human ship moved together, slowly but steadily. The galaxy might have rejected the aliens, but here, in this quiet partnership, a new possibility was growing. Survival was no longer just a matter of hiding. It was a matter of trust, of empathy, and of courage. Alex Carter watched the stars through the bridge viewport. He did not speak. He only felt the weight of the choice he had made. The galaxy might call it reckless. The council might call it foolish. But he knew something the aliens were only beginning to understand. Sometimes the right choice is the hardest one, but it is also the one that lasts. For the first time in many cycles, the exiled species felt a spark of hope. For the first time, they realized that not every hand that reached toward them wanted to destroy. Some hands were there to lift them up. And in that small pocket of space, something extraordinary began to happen. The outcasts of the galaxy were no longer alone. They had allies. They had friends, and humanity had shown them a truth that would echo far beyond the empty stars, that even in the cold and vast universe, compassion could survive. And when compassion survived, hope could grow. The journey was far from over. The galaxy still judged, still feared, and still punished. But for now, they were safe. For now, they were not just survivors. They were seen, they were heard, they were not alone. And that simple gift, the willingness to care, was more powerful than any law the galaxy could ever enforce. The human ship guided the alien convoy across vast stretches of empty space. Slowly, the outcasts drew closer to the bright blue world the humans called Earth. For many of the aliens, the planet was a legend, a story told long ago about a world too dangerous for most species. But the humans spoke of it differently. They spoke of survival, of strength, and of life that thrived despite hardship. As they approached, the aliens' anxiety grew. The ships had always moved through empty voids or controlled colonies. They had never faced a planet with storms, oceans, mountains, and living creatures in abundance. The first glimpses of Earth left them in awe. Swirling clouds stretched across the planet. Vast green and brown areas hinted at forests, deserts, and plains. Rivers and oceans shimmered like silver veins across the surface. "This place, it is alive," Ral whispered to Kira. His voice was full of wonder and fear. Kira nodded. "And it will not forgive weakness." She knew the humans had thrived here, but she could also see the dangers. There was no invisible hand to protect them, only the will to survive and the will to fight for it. Captain Alex Carter addressed the aliens over the ship's comm system. "We will land in controlled zones first," he said. "You will learn to live here slowly. There are dangers, but we will guide you." The convoy descended through the thin upper atmosphere of the planet. Gravity tugged at the alien vessels in ways they had not expected. They had adjusted to weightless travel, not the pull of a planet. Several smaller ships struggled to maintain stability. Human engineers worked alongside alien pilots, guiding the craft with patience and calm voices. When the ships finally touched the surface, the aliens were amazed at the strength of the planet. The ground trembled slightly under the weight of their vessels, wind moved like a living force, and the air carried unfamiliar smells. For the aliens, it was both frightening and fascinating. Humans led them to a secure landing zone far from major cities. There, scientists and engineers were waiting. Ethan Moore and Olivia Grant were two of the humans who would spend the next weeks helping the aliens adjust. They moved efficiently, giving instructions in simple words, repeating gestures, and using clear symbols to explain everything. "Welcome," Ethan said. "You will find this place different, sometimes harsh, sometimes beautiful, but it can be home." The aliens looked at each other nervously. None of them had ever heard such words. Most species had only offered exile, punishment, or cold tolerance. This was kindness without reason. Ral stepped forward. How do we live here? The air, the gravity?" Olivia smiled. "We will help you adjust, slowly, first breathing, then movement, then food and energy, one step at a time." It was not easy. Alien bodies had to adapt to the atmosphere. Even the gravity made limbs ache and circuits strain. Some species that were normally graceful stumbled and fell. Others struggled to regulate temperature and energy. But the humans never lost patience. They explained, guided, and corrected errors gently. "You can rest here," Ethan said, "but you will need to move soon. Your bodies must learn to live on this planet, not in ships." The first exercises were simple: walking, lifting, and basic coordination. The aliens grumbled and struggled. Some wanted to give up, but humans like Olivia and Noah encouraged them. "It is okay to fail. You will learn." Little by little, they adapted. Muscles grew stronger, circuits stabilized, and confidence slowly returned. The aliens began to see that survival was not just about fleeing the galaxy's judgment. It was about learning, growing, and working together. During this time, the aliens began to understand something about humans. They thrived not just because of intelligence or strength, but because of cooperation. Every challenge was met as a group. No one was left behind. Mistakes were lessons, not punishments. Ral approached Kira one day, sweat and grime covering his body. They are different. They do not just survive, they thrive in danger." "Why?" Kira looked out at humans moving across the landing zone, carrying supplies, tending to equipment, or simply laughing as they shared food. "Because they choose it," she said. "They do not wait for the galaxy to decide if they live or die. They take their lives into their own hands and help each other. That is strength." Meanwhile, Alex Carter oversaw the adaptation. He met with alien leaders daily, explaining human customs, survival methods, and ways to cooperate. He told them stories of Earth's history: floods, storms, earthquakes, fires, and famine. The aliens listened, shocked that humans had survived so much and still remained hopeful. One day, a group of younger aliens explored a nearby forest under human guidance. They were fascinated by life. Trees swayed, birds flew, insects moved in patterns that seemed chaotic but were perfect. Streams ran clear and the soil was rich. The aliens touched leaves, examined water, and tried to imitate human walking techniques on uneven terrain. Ethan watched them, smiling. "See, you can learn, you can survive. This world is not against you. You only need to respect it and work with it." Ral fell into a stream, splashing water everywhere. At first he panicked, but Olivia laughed and extended a hand. "It's okay. Water teaches balance. You will get used to it." Slowly, Ral learned to wade, to move carefully, and even to enjoy the cool rush against his skin. That evening, the aliens gathered to rest. They were tired, sore, and confused, but they were learning. Kira looked at the humans sitting nearby, tired but smiling. She understood something profound. These humans had taken what the galaxy had punished and made it a strength. They faced danger, hardship, and uncertainty without fear. They lived with purpose. Ral approached her, still dripping from the stream. "They are remarkable," he said. "I have never met a species like this. They do not judge, they do not demand, they only help." Kira nodded. "And that is why we survive, because they see value where others see weakness. They do not reject us, they do not fear us, they only care." The aliens slept that night under a sky full of stars. The humans rested nearby, keeping watch, tending systems, and preparing for the next day. Outside, Earth's winds whispered across the forests, rivers, and plains. It was a dangerous world. It could kill with storms, predators, or hunger, but it could also teach, nurture, and sustain. Kira watched the stars, thinking about the galaxy that had cast them out. They had expected nothing. They had prepared for death, exile, or endless wandering. Instead, they had found a world that could give them life and humans who would fight for it. In the days that followed, the aliens grew stronger. They learned to handle the gravity, breathe the air, and even interact with Earth's wildlife. Humans guided them, never demanding, never punishing. Lessons came with patience, encouragement, and example. Ral laughed for the first time in cycles when a young alien tried to mimic a bird's flight pattern and stumbled into a bush. Kira smiled quietly, noticing that hope was no longer a fragile thing. It had begun to grow inside her people. Captain Alex Carter observed all of this from the human ship. He knew that the galaxy would notice when they returned. They would question, threaten, and demand answers. But he also knew that the aliens were learning more than survival. They were learning trust, cooperation, and resilience. And that could not be taken away by law, fear, or exile. For the first time in their long exile, the aliens were not merely surviving. They were living. They were adapting. And they were beginning to understand what humans had known all along. Survival was not just about avoiding death. It was about working together, learning from mistakes, and refusing to surrender to fear. And as the sun rose over the forests, rivers, and mountains of Earth, the aliens saw something they had never seen before, a world that was harsh, dangerous, and yet full of life. A world that would not judge them for who they were. A world that would allow them to exist, grow, and perhaps even thrive. Kira knew that the journey was far from over. The galaxy still waited, still judged, still punished. But here, on this blue world with humans beside them, the aliens finally understood that they were not alone. They had allies, teachers, and guides. They had a chance to rebuild, to live, and to learn what it truly meant to survive. Ral looked at Kira and smiled. "We were cast out by the galaxy," he said softly. "But maybe we were never meant to survive alone. Maybe we were meant to find them." Kira nodded, her eyes reflecting the sunlight on the rivers below. "Yes," she said, "we were meant to find them. And with them, we will endure." The humans did not boast, they did not command. They simply helped, guided, and protected. And for the first time in countless cycles, the alien convoy realized that kindness could be stronger than fear. That hope could be stronger than despair. That survival was not just a matter of endurance. It was a matter of trust, courage, and the willingness to see life's value, even in those who had been cast aside. And as Earth's winds continued to sweep across forests and plains, the aliens understood a simple truth. They had found a home, not because the galaxy allowed it, but because humans chose to give it. And that choice, simple as it seemed, was more powerful than anything the galaxy could ever impose. The peace on Earth was not meant to last. Far above the clouds, beyond the thin layers of atmosphere, the human ship and the alien convoy had grown stronger, but they were not invisible. Sensors detected unusual activity in the far reaches of space. Fleets were moving toward Earth. The alien convoy's distress signal had reached more ears than anyone had expected. The Galactic Council had noticed. On the human ship, Alex Carter stood on the bridge, watching the blips on the screen. The movement was slow but unmistakable. Ships of the Galactic Enforcers, heavily armed and dangerous, were heading straight for them. "They've found us," Lena Brooks said quietly, her eyes narrowing. "No," Alex replied, calm but firm. "They know we are here, and they will try to take the aliens back." Ral and Kira were summoned to the bridge. The aliens watched in shock as humans discussed strategies, not with fear, but with careful planning. They could not believe that humans were preparing to stand against the galaxy itself. "Will they fight us?" Ral asked, his voice tight with worry. Kira shook her head. "They are not afraid. Humans do not fight because they want to. They fight because it is necessary." Alex turned to them. "The galaxy will try to force you back. We cannot let that happen. You are under our protection. We will defend you, but we also need you to be ready. Survival means cooperation, and right now, that is our only choice." The aliens did not fully understand, but they nodded. They had seen humans work together, face danger, and survive against impossible odds. Perhaps they could trust them again. In the following hours, humans and aliens prepared together. Ethan Moore and Olivia Grant guided the aliens in building protective shelters and energy shields. Noah King worked with Ral and other young aliens to move supplies and secure critical systems. Every human task was explained carefully. Every alien action was guided with patience. Kira moved through the group, quietly observing. She noticed the changes in her people. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with determination. The humans had taught them that survival was not about hiding. It was about standing together. And now they had to put that lesson into practice. One evening, Alex gathered everyone. "Listen carefully," he said. "They will come. You may see their ships first. You may hear their weapons. Do not panic. We are strong because we stay calm. We are stronger because we work together." Ral's hands shook slightly. "But they outnumber us. They are faster, more powerful." Alex nodded. "Yes, but you have something they do not. You have choice. You have courage. And you have people willing to stand with you even when the galaxy says you are unworthy. That makes all the difference." When the first fleet appeared in orbit, the aliens froze. Hundreds of ships, shining with cold light, moved with precision. The humans remained calm. Engineers and medics moved between the landing zones, guiding aliens to safety. "Keep moving," Lena said firmly. "Do not stop. Trust your training." The first shots rang out in the upper atmosphere. Lasers and energy weapons streaked across the sky. Alien shields, guided by human technology, deflected the attacks. The aliens had never seen such firepower before, but the humans had taught them how to survive, how to react, how to remain calm. Kira stayed close to the humans, watching as their crews coordinated. No one panicked, no one hesitated. Humans directed energy, repaired damage, and guided the aliens through the chaos. Slowly, the aliens began to move as one. Ral shouted over the noise. "I can do this. I understand now." Kira smiled faintly. "Good. That is the first lesson of survival. Courage is nothing without action." Hours passed. The human-alien defense held. The galaxy's fleet was strong, but Earth's terrain, combined with human strategy and alien adaptability, made it difficult for them to advance. Humans used the planet itself to their advantage. Hills, forests, rivers, and canyons became shields and obstacles. Meanwhile, communication with the Galactic Council began. Alex Carter sent simple but firm messages. The aliens were under human protection. They had committed no crimes. They were learning to live, to survive, and to cooperate. Any attack would be met with resistance, and humanity would not back down. Kira listened to the transmissions. Her people had always been judged without chance. Now humans were fighting not with words alone, but with action. And the aliens began to understand a new kind of strength, strength that was not measured by weapons or fleets, but by will, courage, and moral conviction. During the fighting, Ethan and Olivia helped aliens who were struggling to navigate the terrain. Ral learned to move quickly and carefully, using his knowledge of energy shields to protect small groups of aliens from attacks. Others followed suit, guided by human patience and instruction. At night, the fleet paused. Both sides regrouped. The aliens sat quietly, watching humans who were repairing damage, tending to the injured, and preparing for the next day. They spoke little, but they were learning that strength was not only in power. It was in preparation, cooperation, and care. Kira approached Alex. "You are risking much," she said quietly. Alex shrugged. "I am risking what I must. We do not leave the weak to die." That is all there is to it. Kira considered this. The humans had chosen a simple principle, yet it was stronger than any law or command of the galaxy. "You fight not for glory, not for power, but for them," she said. "Yes," Alex replied, "because they are worth it." The next day brought a critical moment. The Galactic fleet tried to break through defenses using heavier weapons. The aliens were frightened, but humans calmly guided them to safety. Energy shields were adjusted in real time. Strategic positions were taken to protect key areas. Ral shouted as he moved with a team. "We can do this, keep moving, trust them." Others followed his lead. Slowly, step by step, they pushed the attackers back. It was not a battle of numbers. It was a battle of unity, courage, and determination. By evening, the Galactic fleet had withdrawn temporarily. They sent messages filled with threats, but also hesitation. They had not expected humans to fight so decisively, so calmly, and with such determination. Kira watched her people celebrate quietly. Relief mixed with exhaustion. She realized that humans had taught them more than survival. They had taught them pride, courage, and the power of standing together. Ral came to her wide-eyed. I never thought we could do it. We are still weak, but we survived." Kira nodded. "Yes, and we will continue to survive, because now we have more than hope. We have action, guidance, and friends." Alex Carter met with the alien leaders again. "The battle is not over," he said. "The galaxy will return. But you have learned something important. You are not alone. You can survive, you can fight, and you can trust that people will stand with you when it matters most." Kira looked at him, her voice quiet but steady. "We have never had allies like this before. We will not forget it." The aliens had changed. They had faced fear, chaos, and overwhelming odds. They had watched humans remain calm, patient, and determined. They had survived attacks that would have destroyed other species. And they had begun to understand a new kind of strength, one that did not depend on power alone, but on courage, unity, and moral conviction. The sun rose over Earth, casting light across forests, rivers, and mountains. The battle was not yet over. The galaxy still judged, still sent threats, and still questioned the right of these outcasts to live freely. But here, on this planet with humans beside them, the aliens had discovered a truth that was more powerful than fear, anger, or punishment. Survival was not just about enduring. It was about standing together, learning from each other, and refusing to surrender to the judgments of others. Ral turned to Kira, exhaustion and awe in his voice. "We were cast out, we were alone, but here we are alive, we are learning, we are stronger than we ever imagined." Kira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, and we have humans to thank for showing us the way. They have taken what the galaxy tried to destroy and made it our strength." The alien convoy rested under the protection of humans. Repairs were made, injuries healed, plans were prepared. The galaxy would return, but now the aliens were ready. They had learned to survive not only as individuals, but as a united group guided by humans who did not judge or fear them. Alex Carter watched the stars quietly. He knew the galaxy would continue to test them. But he also knew that together, humans and aliens could endure anything. And the aliens, for the first time in countless cycles, truly believed it. The galaxy might have banished them. It might have sought to punish them. But here, with humans beside them, they had learned a new truth. Courage, cooperation, and care could overcome even the greatest odds. And the aliens realized something even more powerful. They had been given a choice, the choice to survive, to fight, and to trust. And for the first time, they understood that their survival was no longer only about themselves. It was about standing together, guided by humanity, against a galaxy that had never wanted them to exist. The battle was not over, but hope burned brighter than ever before. And for the first time, the outcasts of the galaxy felt truly alive. The galaxy was watching. For cycles, it had looked down on the exiled species, certain they would vanish into silence. For cycles, it had assumed no one would risk standing against its judgment. Yet here, on a small blue planet, the outcasts of the stars had found protection, guidance, and hope. And humanity had not wavered. Captain Alex Carter stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the approaching fleet. Unlike the first time, there was no panic in the room. Engineers, medics, and aliens moved with calm determination. They had prepared for this moment, and they were ready. "This is it," Lena Brooks said quietly, her fingers resting on the console. "The Council sent their final message. They want the aliens back or they will attack." Alex nodded. "We do not give them up. They are under our protection. They have committed no crimes, and they have learned what it means to survive." Ral and Kira stood beside him, watching the blips on the screen. The aliens had grown stronger, more confident, and more aware of their own abilities. Humans had taught them not just to endure, but to act, to adapt, and to believe in themselves. The first signals came. The Council demanded surrender. They warned of destruction, isolation, and the consequences of defiance. The humans replied simply, the aliens would remain under their protection. No argument, no negotiation, only a clear message: you will not take them. The tension was heavy, but the humans remained calm. Alex spoke to the aliens. "Do not fear, stand together, follow our lead. You are stronger than you know." Kira looked at her people. She saw their fear, yes, but she also saw courage. She saw the spark that had been ignited when humans first answered their distress call. That spark had grown into a flame. It would not be extinguished. The Council sent a fleet, hundreds of ships, armed and ready. But they were met by humans and aliens working together. Energy shields, defensive strategies, and clever maneuvers slowed the advance. Earth's geography provided protection, while human tactics surprised even the most experienced commanders. Ral moved with purpose, guiding younger aliens through defensive positions. "Stay calm, trust them," he shouted, echoing lessons he had learned from humans. Kira watched as humans coordinated effortlessly with the aliens. Small hands guided energy flows, repaired damaged shields, and moved injured species to safety. They did not panic. They did not hesitate. And slowly, even the alien convoy began to see that strength was not in ships or weapons alone, but in trust, cooperation, and courage. The Council's fleet hesitated. They had not expected such coordination. They had not expected humans to fight not for conquest, not for glory, but for justice and protection. And that hesitation gave Alex the chance to send a final message. "Return, stand down. You will not take these species from us. They are under human protection. Any attack will be met with resistance. We will not back down." There was silence, followed by static. Then a signal returned, begrudging but clear. The Council would consider their stance. On the ground, aliens and humans worked side by side. Engineers repaired damage. Medics tended to the injured. Children played carefully under watchful eyes, learning lessons of courage and survival from those who had taught the adults. Kira approached Alex. "You risked everything for us. Why?" Alex looked at her, steady and calm. "Because it was right. Because no one should be cast aside for being different. Because humanity believes that survival is more than enduring. It is choosing to act when others do not." Kira nodded, feeling a deep respect. "We were banished by the galaxy, abandoned and forgotten. And yet you stood with us." Alex shrugged. "We do not judge by past mistakes. We only choose what is right now. You asked for help. We answered." As the Council's fleet withdrew, humans and aliens celebrated quietly. It was not a celebration of victory, but of survival, of trust, and of life itself. The aliens had learned something profound. Strength was not in escaping fear, but in facing it together. Ral laughed for the first time freely. "We were cast out, and yet we are alive. We are learning, we are not alone." Kira smiled. "Yes, and we have humans to thank for showing us the way." News of the event slowly spread across the galaxy. Other species began to question the Council's judgment. If humanity could stand against the strongest powers to protect the weak, what did that say about galactic law? What did that say about morality, courage, and trust? The aliens began to rebuild. They adapted to Earth's environment, learning to survive in ways they had never imagined. Humans taught them to farm, to build shelters, to navigate storms, and to work together. They learned not only to live, but to thrive. Alex and his crew continued to guide them. They showed the aliens how to defend themselves without aggression, how to solve problems with cooperation, and how to value life above fear. Slowly, the aliens began to see that humanity's strength was not weapons or ships, but heart, courage, and choice. The galaxy watched in quiet astonishment. Some fleets returned to report, some species whispered of humanity's actions, and slowly alliances began to shift. The Council's authority was questioned. Their judgments were no longer absolute. And for the first time, the outcasts of the galaxy were not only alive. They were respected, protected, and learning to build a future. One evening, As the sun set over forests and rivers, Kira stood beside Ral, watching humans interact with their people. Children laughed as they played simple games. Elders shared stories of survival. Engineers adjusted energy flows, and everywhere humans moved with calm determination, never demanding, never judging, only guiding. Ral turned to Kira. We were abandoned, cast out, and judged. But now we are learning, we are strong, and we have friends who will stand with us. Kira nodded. Yes, we were never meant to survive alone, we were meant to find them, and with them we will endure. The alien convoy had found a home, not because the galaxy allowed it, but because humans chose to give it. They had learned a truth far stronger than any law. Courage, trust, and compassion could outlast fear, hatred, and punishment. Alex Carter watched the horizon. He knew the galaxy might still challenge them, might still send threats, might still try to impose its judgment. But he also knew that humans and aliens together had proven something the galaxy could not ignore. Life, survival, and hope were more powerful than fear and law. The aliens had changed. They had learned resilience, courage, and cooperation. They had discovered that trust could be stronger than weapons and kindness stronger than judgment. They had discovered the value of standing together, guided by humanity, in a universe that had long sought to erase them. Kira looked at Alex, her eyes reflecting the sunlight on Earth's rivers. We have been given a second chance, she said softly. Not by the galaxy, but by you, Alex smiled faintly. It was never just us, it was choice, it was courage, it was standing together. That is how you survive, that is how you endure. And for the first time in countless cycles, the exiled species understood fully. They were not alone, they were protected. They were learning to thrive. And humanity had shown them a way that no law, fleet, or council could ever take away. The power to choose life, to stand together, and to survive against all odds. The galaxy had banished them. It had expected their end. But here, on this small blue world, the aliens had found more than survival. They had found respect, guidance, hope, and the courage to endure. Ral whispered to Kira, smiling at the children playing nearby, "We will survive. And we will remember who stood with us." Kira nodded, her heart steady. Yes, and one day the galaxy will understand that life cannot be judged by fear or power alone. Humanity has shown us the truth. Courage, care, and trust are stronger than any law. As the sun set over forests, rivers, and mountains, the aliens finally felt peace. The galaxy might still watch, it might still judge. But now they knew something the Council could never erase. Survival was not just living. Survival was standing together, trusting each other, and learning to thrive against all odds. And in the quiet hum of Earth under the endless sky, the aliens knew one last truth. They were home. They were no longer cast out. They were no longer alone. They were part of something greater, and humanity had shown them the way. The galaxy would never forget.